Good afternoon. The topic we want to present today is a case study of Air New Zealand doing foreign direct investment in Malaysia via acquisition. This presentation will divide into 4 parts. Firstly, I will talking about motivations of Air New Zealand doing FDI and why choosing Malaysia as a host country. Then, Anki and Eva will illustrate the risks which should be considered, standing on the scope of cultural difference. Finally, Crystal will propose some recommendations based on the previous research to solve these issues. So let's begin with the motivation of doing FDI. According to the OLI theory, firms doing FDI in foreign countries are mainly due to the ownership advantages, location advantages, and internalization advantages. In this case, we are focusing on the location advantages and internalization. The location advantages is mainly about the potential opportunity in emerging market. From the market map from Air New Zealand official site, we could see that Asia, North America, Tasman, and domestic market are showing developing trend. But from the further analysis, data shows that the growth of domestic market is slowly, which might be due to the limited amount of consumers. Doing FDI to extend overseas market would be a good way to future development. The data from June 2019 shows that Asia, including Southeast Asia, China, and Japan, has become the most powerful market among all overseas business. Air New Zealand had invested Qantas Airline in order to get benefits from Tasman, including Australia market. Occupied with Asia market might be the goal in next stage. Doing FDI in a country in this emerging market could extend fleets easier and enter local market more quickly. Apart from that, Air New Zealand might also get benefits from FDI by internalization. Cooperation with subsidiaries in Asia fleets could increase the profit rates comparing with cooperating among other airlines. From the photo, we could see that current Asia fleets are almost completed by sharing codes or cooperating with revenue sharing partners, such as Air China, Cathay Pacific, Singapore Airlines, and ANA. These corporations take many revenues away, which is sourcing from own consumers. In addition, internalization lead to a lower cost such as aircraft maintenance in non-based airport, cost on dispatching, and extra outcome on seasonal flight or tidal routes. Now, if we decide to do FDI overseas, selecting a proper host country might be the first step. We advise Malaysia as a host country based on its market size, stable economic growth, political situation, investment policies, and labor cost. As mentioned in previous session, doing FDI in Asian market is aimed at its potential on purchasing power. Malaysia is located on the center of Southeast Asia, have close relationship with China, Thailand, and Singapore in tourism and trading business, which bring considerable passenger flow. And the time flying to China, Southeast Asia countries, and Japan are less than 5 hours, which is easier to link all the related market into ecosystem. Malaysia is also strength in economic growth and political stability. From the Global Economic Prospect report presented by the World Bank, Malaysia has a robust trend in GDP growth and remain with healthy financial statement, stable exchange rate. Moreover, although Malaysia is a multi-religion country, it has a stable political environment for a long period without serious conflict in recent years. Moreover, the investment policies is friendly to foreign investors. There are few limitations on control right and money refund, and has many support on investment such as lower tax, subsidy in infrastructure development. Finally, the labor market is competitive than other Southeast Asia countries. The labor cost is much lower than developed countries such as Singapore and Japan, but benefit by the education system and the fast growth of tourism and the trading industry. It is not difficult to hire skilled labor relating to aviation operations. It means that firms could have many choices in balancing salary, outcome, and skill requirements. Also, we're doing a matrix to analyze the risks and the opportunities about doing FDI in Malaysia as shown in a PPT. So then it will move on to the risks about doing FDI in Malaysia that will be the part of Anki.
Thanks, Alex. Now I'm talking about the risks, especially in cultural differences. As can be seen from a matrix, apart from the consideration of the strength in specific investment location, the risk of doing FDI also have to take into account while making decisions. In order to analyze this risk more detailed, we employ the framework which classifies the risk into firm-specific, country-specific, and global-specific. The results are as follows. Then we narrow our scope into cultural and institutional risk under the country-specific part, especially focusing on the risk that might be due to cultural differences. These points were divided into two perspectives, marketing and management. First of all, in this marketing risks, the first issue that I will outline is local purchasing habit in Malaysia. The consumers in Malaysia seems to be more sensitive to price change both in domestic and international fleets. Firstly, the fleets around Southeast Asia countries and China are generally less than 5 hours. The improvement of service may not lead to a significant difference in the flying experience. Moreover, the customers are mainly for short-term tourism and daily commuting, which lead to the sensitiveness on price. In addition, the price-sensitive purchasing habit may be also impacted by the local purchasing power in the developing country and attractions from emerging local airlines such as Jetstar Asia, AirAsia, and Scoot. In this way, if Air New Zealand wants to access the market successfully, it's essential to make a proper change on existing product lines to draw customers' attention. Moving on to the religious heritage. Different from the situation in New Zealand, Malaysia and some other Southeast Asian countries have a complex religion environment. For example, 61.3% of the population in Malaysia practice Islam, which is the official religion, and 19.8% of the population practice Buddhism, and 9.2% are Christian. While in Thailand, the king is required in law to be a Buddhist. Due to the diversity of religion and close relationship between regime and religion, firms doing business among these countries need to have a great understanding of religious difference and take extra care in marketing strategies to respect local religion heritage. Third, it's going to be value attitude in racial diversity. The consumers in Southeast Asia countries are not only diverse in religion, but also diverse in races. Both Malaysia and Singapore are combined with ethnic Chinese, Indian, and Malay, which may cause a significant difference in value attitude because of their traditions. Apart from that, the value in Eastern countries is different in Western countries also. It is shown that Western consumers may be more serious on individuals such as manners and passions of the staff, while Eastern consumers seems to be more concentrated on corporeal aspects, let's say food quality and lounge infrastructure. Due to the reason above, it is a great challenge for managers to do marketing decisions which is suitable for all target clients. Last but not least, it's going to be for advertising appeals. Advertising is a crucial part of the marketing strategy. Due to the influence of cultural difference, the efficiency of different advertising appeals is altered obviously. The diversity of racial and religion make the situation more interactive. Generally, the GCCP appeals are more effective in Eastern developing countries. Advertising appeals should avoid cultural conflicts and attract consumers at the same time. Inappropriate advertising might cause considerable pressure on public relations, such as DNG's advertising about chopstick in the Chinese market. And for the management risk, my colleague Eva will be elaborating it further.
Another critical and tough process in foreign direct investment is the human resource management and staffing of a subsidiary. There are several approaches which have their own advantages and disadvantages. For a company, we have two options, and these two options have their own weaknesses as well. So, for the first option, in terms of staffing, we decide to staff at least, if not 100%, but at least 90% from the parent company. And that means we will be sending staff from New Zealand to work in the new subsidiary in Malaysia. So with this type of approach, there are shortfalls as well. Firstly, there's the issue of no diversification or diversity in the new subsidiary. Secondly, there will be work clashes between the locals and the international staff. So for example, the locals will feel that their job securities are being threatened, and in the long run it will lower their staff moral, productivity level, and also they won't be actively participating in developing new business ideas, concepts, or products and services for New Zealand in the Malaysian context. And fourth, there's also the political risk of international staff not being familiar with local laws and regulations as well. And also the other final issue is that the international staff are not familiar with local knowledge, so that can affect the business as well in terms of how the business is being managed and run. The second option is the opposite of the first option, and that is to at least source 90% from the local market and 10% maybe from the parent company. With this type of approach, there's also shortcomings. Firstly, there's no synchronization of business strategy between New Zealand and its subsidiary because of the distance with management. So the Malaysian subsidiary might not be fully aware of organizational culture and values of Air New Zealand. Secondly, there might not be the talent pool that Air New Zealand requires from the local market, as in people with international experiences, technical knowledge, and expertise to fill in the critical position of the new subsidiary. And also there won't be any much of knowledge transfer spillovers from the parent company to the new subsidiary. Moving on, communication is also a big aspect of foreign direct investment for subsidiary. And for a company, we identified language barrier to be the main issue. And there are 3 different languages spoken in Malaysia as compared to the dominant language for the parent company, which is English. So with the different accents or maybe, different understanding of meanings of the different languages, this can lead to ineffective communication as well. There's also cultural differences whereby, for example, expression of ideas and opinions. So for example, in the Eastern culture, people are more reserved in expressing their ideas or opinions in a direct and straightforward manner, whilst in the Western culture, which is the dominant culture of the parent company, it's the opposite. So with these 2 different, cultural differences, it can hinder communication or effective communication as well. Further, lastly, actually, it's the operational consensus. And in this regard, we are, talking about how problem-solving methods displayed, how issues are being handled and analyzed, and also how conflicts are being managed and so forth. So with these 2 different cultures coming to work together, of course there will be differences in how these things are being handled. So if there are no timely response to critical decisions or issues that arise between the parent and the subsidiary, then this can lead to, weaker relationships for the parent and the subsidiary in the long term.
Thank you, Eva. After the understanding of the risks may be caused by cultural differences, we propose several recommendations. Subsidiary could develop new products of different price grade to make up market segment that could be different from Air New Zealand and other low-cost airlines. There are two approaches to reach this goal. First, subsidiary could introduce mid-price class tickets or provide a special class ticket. Air New Zealand has a special ticket named Sky Coach, which means you can buy 3 economy class seats to make them like a coach if you can't afford a business class seat. That is popular for passengers now. Another one is to make flexible choice for customers to meet their requirements. For example, based on existing products, make some service become optional and lower the fare. As for religious conflicts, it would be better for subsidiary to understand local religion laws and avoid religion conflict factors, set regulations to respect customers' religion freedom, and provide possible help in their activities, such as special food service, language service, and isolated lounge. As we know, the values of customers in the East and West are different. Southeast Asia customers pay more attention to real things they get. So we recommended that subsidiary can provide more visible service, such as attractive food or boarding gifts and in-flight facilities that customers think that could be worth the fare. Advertising can be considered as an important part of a company culture and operation. When subsidiary does advertising in Southeast Asia and Malaysia, subsidiary can take full advantage of brand from New Zealand, which is a developed country, promote good service and safety in advertising, which is Air New Zealand famous for, so that customers will trust us and choose us. Based on that, try to put advertising in different channels according to different target groups. For example, put Chinese advertisements only on websites and WeChat which users are almost Chinese. That could reduce cost and improve efficiency. It also can avoid risks on religion and race. When implement GCCP appeals in general advertising, make sure the description is appropriate and neutral in religion and race. Let's move to the recommendations on management. The senior leaders of subsidiary can be hired locally because they know local market well and they can be better at making market strategies for the target markets. That is why most big international companies do when they set multinational subsidiaries. However, that doesn't mean that the leader of subsidiary has all power to control the direction of the development. Air New Zealand still controls the development of it. For instance, the leader has to know about the culture of parent company. It could be beneficial to the communication of making strategies between parent company and the subsidiary. As we know, the aviation industry is a special industry that requires process workflow practices or serious accidents might happen. Therefore, in terms of operational specification, hire training teachers to train employees of subsidiaries to learn the industry operation rules. For communication issues, we have 3 solutions. First, language training. Understanding and mastering each other's language can be greatly improve efficiency of communication. Secondly, cultural sensitivity and adaptability training. Subsidiary and parent company can send employees to study, communicate, and experience different culture in each other countries. the exchange of employees could promote effective communication between people with different cultural backgrounds. Finally, ethnic cultures and customs training. By regularly explaining ethnic culture to employees with different cultural backgrounds, employees can understand customs of New Zealand and Malaysia, improve their understanding and cognition of different cultures, and thus narrow the cultural distance between managers and employees. We have already known that people from different cultural backgrounds have different ways of doing things. Cross-cultural differences determine that workers from different cultural backgrounds have different expectations and needs. Conflicts caused by people's habits and customs can be eliminated through long-term exchanges and mutual influences. Also, the company can clearly establish a high-quality corporate culture, form a common value in order to guide the behavior of all employees. That brings us to the end of our presentation.